centimeters square. And there's 30 stitches across. So we are going to start off by doing a foundation chain with 30 stitches. So we're going to start by doing a slip knot and leave about a 30 centimeter end. So you've got a good distance to weave in at the end. And to do the slip knot, we've got the cut end of the yarn, and this is the ball end of the yarn. And put the yarn over your hand like that. Then wrap the yarn around your hand, so across the back and back over the front. And this bit that you've just wrapped, the bit that's attached to the ball end, is on your fingertip side of the first piece of yarn. Then turn your hand over like this, get the ball end, and we're going to make a loop. Now it's important that the loop is going in the right direction. So when you make the loop, go from your knuckles out towards your fingertips. So it's pointing out towards your fingertips. So loop, pointing out towards your fingertips. And then put the hook in that loop, because that's where the crochet hook is living. Pull your hand out and tighten that up like that. There you go. And if your slip knot falls to bits, go back and redo it and just make sure everything's facing the right way. Okay, so we've got slip knot on the hook, and now we're going to do 30 chain stitches, which gives us the width of the blanket, about the 1.1 meters. So to do a chain stitch, yarn over and pull that through the loop on the hook. And you can see here, we've done one stitch. So there's a V, so that's like the top of the crochet stitch, and all crochet stitches have a V. So it's got two legs, and then on the back, there's this knobbly bit. And it helps if you can learn to identify the kind of the anatomy of the crochet stitch. I think that's the first time I've ever said anatomy of the crochet stitch. Because it makes it easier when you come to do row 1 and you're putting the hook into the chain stitch. So just a little bit of word of warning, if you are new to crocheting, doing the foundation chain and the first couple of rows, definitely the first row is like the hardest part. So don't worry if it feels foreign and it looks wrong and everything else. Do it, get to about row 4, then pull it, if you want to, pull it out and do it again, and you'll be amazed how much more sense it makes and how much better it looks. Okay, so we've done one stitch. So we're just going to keep going here. So 2, so just wrap the yarn around the hook and through the loop on the hook. Wrap the yarn around the hook and through the loop on the hook. That's 3. Wrap the yarn around the hook and through the other loop on the hook. That's 4, and then 5. So let's go back and have a count and a look at what we've done so far. Okay, so remember, crochet stitches have a V like this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've counted 5 V's. And if we look on the back, we can see that there's a knobbly bit at the back of the V. So down this face here is the V's, and at the back is the knobbly bit. Now, sometimes it's not unusual to end up with something that looks like pretzels, like this. And you can see I've just forced that, made that to happen. But if you look at the pretzels, you can still see the 2 legs of the V are here. And if we turn it over, you can still see the knobbly bits are here. So it's just a matter of reshaping your crocheting. Even pulling it like that does the same thing. And we've got knobbly bits down here, and we've got our V's now showing. So that's kind of a little helpful hint for you. So just to count what we've done, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 stitches. So let's keep going and we'll do the 30. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we've done 30 chain stitches. So that is our foundation chain, and here it all is. Okay, so that's the very start. I'm just going to kind of reshape everything here so they all look like these, which will make it easier for me to find my knobbly bits. Okay, so that's our foundation chain. That sits at the very bottom of our blanket. So our blanket is going to grow up this way like this. So row 1 is roughly going to come across here. So if we move the yarn, it's roughly going to sit across there like that. So we need to get from here up to the top of the row so we can do the row 1 stitches. And the bit that does that is called the turning chain. And so it's more chain stitches, and it just gets to the top of the row. And depending on the pattern, sometimes it's counted as a stitch, sometimes it's not. For this pattern, it's not counted as a stitch. It's just kind of, its function is to get to the top of the row, and then we keep crocheting. So this is the first stitch that we're going to be working into, this one here. Okay, so I might actually I'm going to hold on to that so I know where it is. You could also put your stitch marker in it. And so do another 2 chain stitches. So yarn over and through the other loop on the hook, yarn over and through the other loop on the hook. So that's what we've got there. So our 2 chains come up here. Just going to get some more yarn out. Okay, so now we're going to do our first stitch of row 1, and it's a treble stitch in UK terminology, and it's a double crochet stitch in US terminology. So first thing we need to know is where to put the crochet hook. So like I said before, down here we've got our V's, and then we've got the knobbly bits on the back, and the knobbly bit is where the crochet hook's going to go. And the reason for that is it leaves this beautiful V's on the end of the blanket, and it looks really nice and tidy and even. So I'm going to look at my stitch here. This is the last chain stitch we did in the foundation chain. Here's my 2 turning chains sitting here. So here's my V's, and behind that is the knobbly bit. And if I rearrange everything here so I can see the knobbly bits, it's going to make it easier for me while I'm crocheting. There we go. Okay, so let's do our treble stitch. So I'm holding on to the knobbly bit. I've got my fingers in that. Make it easy to know where to go. And to do a treble stitch, that's the UK terminology. Double crochet is the US terminology. We put the yarn around the hook once and put it into the stitch below, which is into the knobbly bit. So there's my V. Yep, there's 2 legs of the V, and behind that, here's the knobbly bit. So the hook goes into there. Then put the yarn over the hook and pull that back out of the knobbly bit. Then yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the next 2 loops on the hook, just like that. So here's the foundation chain, lots of knobbly bits here ready to go. Here's the turning chain here, and here's our first stitch that we did right there. And I'm going to put a stitch marker on that so I know where the first and the end stitches, first and last stitches of the row is, so I don't miss any stitches on my edges, which is a common crocheting problem. Okay, stitch marker in. Cool, let's do another treble stitch. So yarn over the hook, put it into the knobbly bit. So find the knobbly bit at the back of the V. Yarn over and pull it back out of the knobbly bit. Yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook, like that. Okay, No, I was going to put another stitch marker in it. Well, no more stitch markers until we get to the end of the row. So we've done 2 stitches. So let's keep going. So yarn over, hook through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull it back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. That's our 3rd stitch. Yarn over and through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull the hook back out, yarn over and through the first 2 stitches on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 stitches on the hook. Okay, find the next knobbly bit, yarn over, put the hook through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. There you go. Yarn over, put the hook through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. I'm making good progress. Get everything rearranged here. Okay, and yarn over and through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out of the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Find the next knobbly bit, yarn over, put the hook through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Okay, find the next knobbly bit, here it is, yarn over and into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull the yarn back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops, yarn over and through the last 2 loops. And when you put your hook into the knobbly bit, always go from where you are away from you, like that. So from where you are away from you. And that's for every crochet stitch. You do it from you going away from you like that. Now I just want to show you the foundation chain and what it gives us by putting the hook into the knobbly bit. So we've got a few stitches lined up there. How many have we done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can see down on this bottom edge, there's these beautiful V's showing. It's nice and even and consistent. So that's why we put the hook through the knobbly bit. It leaves that beautiful V's on the end. Okay, let's keep crocheting. This is good. I'm actually going to kind of rearrange my chain here so it's nice and easy to find the knobbly bit. So I've got all of the V's running along here and then the knobbly bits going along here. Okay, let's keep going. So yarn over, put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull the yarn back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops, yarn over and through the last 2 loops. Find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Okay, find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull the hook back out of the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops, yarn over and through the next 2 loops. Now I'm just going to grab some more yarn out here. Okay, let's keep crocheting. Find the next knobbly bit. Here it is. Yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit. Yarn over and pull the yarn back out of the knobbly bit. Yarn over and through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and through the last 2 loops. So yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit. yarn over and pull that back through the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops, yarn over and through the last 2 loops. So find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Okay, find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull it back out of the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and through the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out of the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. There we go, we're going really well here. I would say, roughly looking at this, we are over halfway. I'm just rearranging my chain, foundation chain, so my knobbly bits are all nice and easy to find. Hey Bronwyn, will we be able to watch this as a replay? Would love to get some yarn and do this along with you. You certainly will. It will be available for you to watch. So yarn over, put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull the hook back out of the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Okay, find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and put the hook through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and put the hook through the last 2 loops on the hook. So find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out through the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Okay, find the next knobbly bit. Here it is. Yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out of the knobbly bit, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. And Bronwyn says, thank you so much. You explain it so well and it's not rushed, so great for beginners. Yes, Bronwyn, that's what I'm aiming for. I'm glad you find it that way. Crocheting is easy when you know how, but it's just getting to the knowing how bit that can be hard. Okay, so grab the next knobbly bit. Here it is. Yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. And Shelley says, how many skeins will it take to make 100 by 100 blanket? So I'm assuming you're meaning like a meter by meter, 100 centimeters by 100 centimeters, Shelley. So it takes about 6 skeins of the Homelea Bliss yarn to do a meter by meter. Okay, so find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. And we are on the downhill run. Look, we've only got a couple of stitches left to go. Okay, so find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull the hook back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull it back out of the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. And Shelley says, thank you. You're welcome, Shelley. And ask your questions. I'm happy to answer. Find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Okay, we're down to the last 2 stitches. So find the next knobbly bit, yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull the hook back through the knobbly bit, yarn over and through the first 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and through the last 2 loops on the hook. Okay, and last stitch, here it is. That's what it looks like. Knobbly bit here. Yarn over and put the hook into the knobbly bit, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the first 2 loops, yarn over and through the last 2 loops. And normally if you were starting off with a fresh ball of Homelea Bliss, you wouldn't run out of yarn here. I specifically grabbed a smaller ball so I could show you how to join the yarn. So just pretend there's yarn coming out here. And I'm going to put a stitch marker in the last stitch, similar to what we did at the start here. And put that through there like that. And that is going to mean I know where this stitch is, the first one. So our edges are nice and straight. Okay. I'm just going to go sideways here a little bit. Sideways. I'm going to show you, pull it out a little bit. I'm going to show you how to join the Homelea Bliss yarn. So this is how we join the Homelea Bliss yarn. Because it is 100% Australian merino wool, it means you can felt it. And it means there's no big, ugly, chunky joins. It's all just one. It becomes one long continuous piece of yarn through the entire blanket, which I love. So I've got the felting mat. This is our chunky yarn joining kit and the felting tool. And I've laid both of my ends out here on the mat. And just something to be aware of, especially, and I've done it. Look at that. Be aware of where your starting end is, because I would have just felted that to the new ball. So make sure you've got the one that you've been crocheting with. That was a good learning experience. And unlock your felting tool and just give each end a light felt to start with. And this just felts all the little bits of Homelea Bliss in together. Do the same here. So the thing I actually haven't told you so far about Homelea Bliss is, yes, it is Australian merino wool, so it's fully grown and processed in Australia, but it's uniquely made so it doesn't shed. It's not going to leave fluff everywhere while you're crocheting with it and while you're using it. It will peel a little bit, and the yarn I'm actually using is some of my designing yarn, and it actually has a few pills on it because I've used it again and again and again. But that's easily removed by just depilling it. Okay, so the 2 ends are lightly felted, and just cut them on an angle. And I like to follow the lines that are already in the yarn when cutting. Okay, like that. And then we're going to overlap them. So the cuts are parallel, overlap by about 1 centimetre. Hold that, and then really carefully lightly felt them just so they're sitting in the right place, and keep your fingers away from the felting mat because it hurts if you accidentally felt them. Okay. And then when you've got a bit of a join happening there, turn it over and felt the other side, and just keep felting until it's nicely joined together. You can over felt. If that happens, you'll know it happens because it's just not getting any more joins. Just cut it and redo the join. And so I'm just aiming that it's a nice secure join and that there's no fluffy bits. I've still got a few fluffy bits, so I'm going to target those. Seems to felt better when those bits are on the bottom. Let's join. That's looking pretty good, I think. Yeah, and don't worry if it's looking a bit like a pancake, because put it on the side and give it a little bit of a light felt on the side as well. And give it, it's amazing. This is amazing. Just give that a bit of a massage, and that gets it back to the yarn size. And then to check your join secure, give it a good strong tug. Okay, that's that done. Now Bronwyn has asked, how would you wash if needed? So Bronwyn, and this, we've got a whole masterclass on this in Blanket School in the free access, free membership, is so either spot wash if it's just a small part that needs cleaning. If it's the whole blanket, what I do is I put it in my laundry tub. So I put some warm or cool water in the laundry tub with some wool detergent. You can do the same thing in the bath if you don't have a laundry tub, and just let it kind of soak and give it a really light agitation in there. So do that, let it soak for at least half an hour just to make sure everything can get into all the fibers. Give it an agitation. If your wool wash needs rinsing, rinse using a similar process. And then what I do is I will either put it in the washing machine just to spin it to get the water out of it, or I lay a few towels on the ground, lay the wet blanket out on the towels, and then roll it up like kind of, you know, those sponge rolls. Towels on the ground and then roll, and that wrings the water out of the wool without kind of damaging the wool. We don't want to kind of rub on the wool or squeeze it too much, because that will start the felting process. And then once the moisture's out of the wool, lie it flat to dry somewhere that it can be undisturbed and out of the sun. So similar way to treating if you had, say, a wool jumper, just a little bit bigger, but definitely doable. Okay, so we now have a join, and I'm just going to just redo what we did before. Since I had just the right amount of yarn for one row. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Okay. So we've done our first row. So our next row uses a different stitch, which I'm going to show you shortly. But let's turn like this. And one of the things to be aware of when you're crocheting is to keep turning the same way every time. Because that means that helps you get a really consistent and more even edge. So remember, I almost felted this before. Let's weave it in so it can't get felted again. So this is the starting end. And I'm just going to weave it through loops along here. And it doesn't, and I'm just using my fingers. You don't need a needle for this because the stitches are big enough. Doesn't matter where you weave it through. The idea is just to kind of weave it through and secure and hold the end so it doesn't come loose. So it's just hiding it, basically, hiding it and holding it in place. I'm just using my fingers and going through here. Bronwyn says, great tips, don't want to ruin our masterpiece. That's exactly right, Bronwyn. Exactly right. When you've put all your time and energy into crocheting something, you want to be able to use it for a long time and for it to look good for a long time as well. So if we'll just put it through, got the end and woven it through with my fingers. I've got it through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's go 10, then it's a nice even numbers through 10 stitches. Like I said, it doesn't matter where. Now, because of the unique way that Homelea Bliss is made, the ends will kind of fray if there's not a knot in the end of it. So just after your last stitch, just tie a knot in the yarn like that and tighten that, and then just trim that off. And that just keeps that end looking really nice and tidy, and just give it a jiggle and you can see that end is woven in there. Okay, so let's do row 2. So row 2 is going to be all double crochet stitches UK terminology and single crochet stitches US terminology. And so it's a shorter stitch. So it's actually just got one chain in its foundation chain. So let's do that to start with. And this doesn't count as a stitch. Okay, so there we go. So I know where my first stitch is going because we've marked that with a stitch marker. So to do a double crochet stitch, that's the UK terminology, single crochet US terminology. So put the hook through the stitch below. And so before we were putting the hook under the knobbly bit, now we're going under the V. And this is what will happen for the rest of the blanket. So you can see at the top, I'm kind of bending the crocheting around here. The top is the V's, similar to what we've got here. We've got V's here. We've also got V's on top of the stitches. And each stitch has a V, so 2 legs of the V. And so we put the crochet hook under both of those legs of the V. And it, like I said before, it always goes from you, heading away from you like that. Okay, so let's go back to this one. So here's my V. I know where it is because I marked it. So put the hook into the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back out of the stitch below. We've got 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and through those 2 loops. Then move the stitch marker up. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing all the way along this row. This is row 2. So hook goes into the next stitch, so under both legs of the V, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Let's keep doing that. Hook goes under both legs of the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back out of the stitch below, yarn over the hook and through the 2 loops on the hook. So hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. And I just need to get some more yarn out here. There we go. So hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and pull that through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes mental blank for a second. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through. And before we do the next yarn over, I'm just going to tell you something. Another little tip is when you're doing a yarn over, always go from behind the hook across the front of the hook. So you're putting the yarn towards you. So when you put the hook through the stitch below, the hook goes away from you, but the yarn over goes across the front of the hook like that. So yarn over across the front of the hook from behind across the front and then through the 2 loops on the hook. So into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hey Rana, glad you're joining us. Yarn over and through the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. And I'm going to get some more yarn out. Okay, so hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Just going to adjust my ear things here. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. Hook goes into the next stitch, yarn over and pull that back through, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. And we've got 1 stitch left, and I know it's the last stitch because it's got the stitch marker in it, so I know exactly where I'm going. So hook goes into that last stitch, yarn over and pull that back out, yarn over and through the 2 loops on the hook. And I'm going to move this stitch marker back up to that stitch that we just did. So like that. Okay, and then turn. There we go. So we've done the first 2 rows of the warm heart blanket, and the good thing is the rest of the blanket is just the same thing repeated. So if there's a treble row, UK terminology, double crochet, US terminology, and then a double crochet row. So the same thing, just repeating these 2. So row 1 and row 2 again and again and again until there's a total of 24 rows, or you get to that 1.1 meter mark. Yes, so that's what you do. You just keep repeating that over and over again. And we're not going to make the whole blanket here. The videos are all available in Blanket School. But I did want to show you. So yeah, just do that same process that we've just done again and again. I did want to show you how to fasten off but and weave in the final end. So how to do that is cut your yarn, cut it about, let's go 30 centimeters again. Gives us a nice length to work with, like that. And then wrap the yarn around the hook and just pull that through that last loop. And then we pull, just tighten that last stitch. And to make sure this last stitch definitely doesn't come undone, because if this comes undone, the whole blanket comes undone. We're just going to tie a knot around that. Just tie a knot around that, and that just super secures that. So it's definitely not going to come undone. If you've reached the end, you can pull your stitch markers out like that. And then similar what we did with the starting end is just weave that the end through some stitches. Doesn't matter which ones. I tend to just go straight across if it's just straight rows. But you could totally go take it for a little bit of a an interesting journey. Just go through any loops. It doesn't matter. Like that. And when you've got to close to the end, tie a knot in that just to stop it from fraying, to keep it nice and tidy. Like that. And then trim that off. Jiggle. And so that is how to make the warm heart blanket, the condensed version. But I've shown you all the stitches and all the